Good evening, this is BBC Newsline. The headlines. A former safeguarding officer at one of Northern Ireland's biggest churches has claimed he was called a Satanist for raising safeguarding concerns. As protests take place across the Republic, the First and Deputy First Ministers call on the Prime Minister to take immediate action on rising fuel costs here.
Roads remain blocked in many parts of the Republic this evening as crucial talks take place here in Dublin to try and resolve this fuel crisis.
The DUP is calling for a special meeting of Belfast City Council to discuss this statue erected without planning permission.
Hugely damaging to public confidence, and the question that residents and constituents, including in streets like this, are asking is there a two-tier system?
Parents of children unable to secure a place at their local preschools say children are being pulled out of the community due to the way places are allocated.
Round 2 of the Masters Golf Tournament is underway here at Augusta, with Rory McIlroy in action very soon. We'll hear from him after a great start to the defence of his title.
And there's more unsettled weather to come this weekend. Although temperatures will rise a little, it won't be raining all the time. I'll be back with the full forecast.
Hello, welcome to the programme this Friday evening. A former official at one of Northern Ireland's biggest churches has claimed he was called a Satanist for raising safeguarding concerns. A previous investigation into safeguarding at Whitewell Metropolitan Tabernacle in Belfast had found a culture of indifference towards safeguarding at the church. But the church trustees have told BBC Newsline that they had implemented changes following the investigation and that they take safeguarding very seriously. Our education correspondent Robbie Meredith has the story.
Whitewell Metropolitan Tabernacle in North Belfast is one of Northern Ireland's biggest churches and is passed every day by thousands of drivers on the approach to Belfast from the north on the M2 motorway. But following an alleged incident of inappropriate behaviour by one of the senior leaders in the church at the Men's Fellowship, a safeguarding investigation was carried out by a pastor from another church. Safeguarding is the process of protecting children, young people and adults at risk of abuse, harm or neglect. But when that investigation concluded in late 2024, it said there appeared to be a culture of indifference towards safeguarding within the church. A number of the designated safeguarding officers in the church, though, resigned due to what they alleged was the failure of the leadership to properly address safeguarding concerns. Some of them spoke to BBC Newsline at a recent meeting of former church members.
Safeguarding is for the protection of vulnerable people, and that's the most important thing within any institution, and especially within a church situation.
Some say they faced criticism for raising concerns.
Myself and a number of the other men who were involved in the safeguarding were referred to as Satanists. We were called liars and we were called rebels. Because, on a very personal perspective, and I am very happy to say this, I now have left the church.
BBC Newsline has seen minutes of an oversight meeting of church trustees, at which it was said that Satan may have used some of those raising concerns, and the letter of concern about safeguarding at the church could be seen as an act of rebellion. 1 Samuel 15 verse 23 was quoted, "For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft." Some others have also left the church over their concerns, but it hasn't been easy.
Over the last 2 years, last year, it's just got really difficult, and then we found these issues that come up with safeguarding, and there were serious failings in safeguarding, and because my wife was on the safeguarding team at the time, we were aware of this, and we just thought, with a clear conscience in front of the Lord, we just couldn't be part of the church anymore.
In a statement in response to questions from BBC Newsline, the church trustees said that they took safeguarding very seriously and that the alleged inappropriate behaviour of a staff member in 2024 was thoroughly investigated. They also said, "We thoroughly disagree with any suggestion that the church failed to adequately address the safeguarding allegation." Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
The First and Deputy First Ministers have written to Sir Keir Starmer calling for immediate action on rising fuel and energy costs. Michelle O'Neill and Emma Little-Pengelly are calling on the Prime Minister to introduce a package including a reduction in fuel duty to ease pressure on households and businesses, alongside targeted support for hauliers, farmers and small businesses. It comes as blockades continue in the Republic, where it's claimed some 500 petrol stations could be without fuel by tonight. Tractors and lorries have been blocking the roads this week in protest against rising fuel costs. Well, our reporter Paul Colgan is in Dublin for us. Paul, what's the latest?
Well, nothing has changed on the ground, Lindsay. Lots of roads remain blocked tonight. Protesters are still at key oil depots and refineries around the country, and forecourts, particularly in the south of the country, are running dry. There's a crucial meeting taking place here today on Dublin's Kildare Street. Three government ministers are meeting with representative bodies to see if they can come up with a package that might resolve this crisis. But crucially, the protesters' representatives are not in the building this evening. So as it turned out, it was another day of turmoil and disruption. Day 4 in Dublin, and scores of tractors and lorries still lined O'Connell Street this morning.
If they get what they want, they'll call it off. Everything will move. The whole country can go back to normal within 20 minutes, a couple of phone calls, you know, but the way things are at the minute, they're not listening.
Taxing on everything. Once you put your boots on in the morning, you're taxed till you take them off at night. And that's a sad thing. We work long enough hours, we try to keep everyone happy, and this is the way we've been treated, like dirt.
These protests have closed motorways and oil depots. Over 100 petrol stations are without fuel this evening, with the prospect of more running out very soon. A short distance from O'Connell Street, and preparations were being made for a meeting. As government ministers and industry representatives gathered, a small detachment of demonstrators made their way to the Irish Parliament building, turned back by a public order unit and a temporary barricade. Confusion reigned about who would be inside the room and who wouldn't. The official hauliers organisation consulted with representatives from the protesters.
The people that's on the protest, they're on the protest because they're on the breadline. Same as ourselves. Us as an association, we decided we weren't going on protest, that we were going talking here in the Dáil to see, with the government, to see what we can gain for the industry.
But when they tried to enter the building, the protesters' names weren't on the list.
It's the government that's holding this country to ransom, not the protesters. We are having a peaceful protest, and we have a constitutional right to be able to have peaceful protests.
Will the protest continue?
They continue until we get a result.
Inside, the hauliers and farmers groups were briefed on what the government is considering in order to break the blockades. A package designed to ease high fuel costs. But whether it can possibly satisfy all the demands being made by protesters is far from clear.
Paul, tell us more about how Gardaí's approaching this. There's been a bit of a change of tactics, is that right?
Well, it still remains largely hands-off around the country, Lindsay, but we order unit down in County Cork moved that little bit closer to protesters today at the Whitegate oil refinery. Now, it's deemed to be a crucial piece of infrastructure, no less than the Taoiseach said the other night. He said the protest there was akin to an act of national sabotage. So we've seen them move that bit closer this evening. Tensions seem to be running that little bit higher there. We heard from Minister of State Niall Collins earlier today saying any package of measures that is to be implemented won't be done so until those sort of protests end. And in the past few minutes, the Taoiseach Simon Harris has been speaking to RTE News. He said ongoing talks are going well this evening and further engagement is likely over the weekend. But at this stage, there doesn't seem to be any clear end to these protests, and we're not sure when they will end, whether that comes in the next 24 hours or not.
Paul Colgan, thank you. Now, the DUP is calling for a special meeting of Belfast City Council to discuss a statue of IRA hunger striker Bobby Sands that was erected without planning permission. An investigation was launched last year after the monument was unveiled on public land in the Twinbrook area. The council says no further action is being planned. Our political reporter Brendan Hughes has more.
And we're going to have the unveiling of the statue.
The big reveal, though not quite according to plan. A stepladder needed to remove a tangled drape, and a statue underneath, erected without permission. This statue of IRA hunger striker Bobby Sands is on land owned by the housing executive, but it says no approval was sought nor granted, and none from the council either, because no planning application was submitted. That prompted a planning enforcement investigation, but Belfast City Council says the case has been closed as it was not considered expedient to take any further action.
This is damaging public confidence in the planning process in Belfast City Council.
Some councillors have questioned the outcome.
And the question that residents and constituents, including in streets like this, are asking is there a two-tier system? Do the rules apply equally to everyone, including Sinn Féin, or is it one rule for Sinn Féin and one rule for the rest of us?
Maybe it is the case that we do need to have a special meeting to establish the factual position on this and understand what, if any, further action we need to take.
Across Northern Ireland, 410 murals and memorials have been recorded on housing executive land and property, including 177 related to paramilitaries.
I mean, obviously, commemorations and celebrations are a contested idea in this society, and people will have different views depending on the issues engaged and the personalities and organisations involved. But I think if we're going to make progress as a society, we need to recognise that we're bound by a code of laws that applies to all of us, and that we should submit ourselves to those in earnest and in honest nature.
Among the Sinn Féin representatives at last year's unveiling was the First Minister, alongside local MLAs including Danny Baker. In a statement, he described the council's decision as a common-sense approach, saying the statue is an expression of the deep respect in which Bobby Sands and his fellow hunger strikers are held within the local community. This is only the latest political row over a paramilitary display, so the prospect of future disputes seems to be set in stone. Brendan Hughes, BBC Newsline, Belfast.
Parents of children who have been unable to secure a place at their local preschools have been speaking about how disadvantaged the youngsters would be by missing out on vital early years education. It comes as the leaders of nearly 50 preschool settings have written to the Education Minister calling for a change in the way preschool places are allocated. Ida Dungan has more.
4, well done, and hold up your 4 fingers. Another one. Good girl, well.
Getting the numbers right is always a good start, but here in Clough-Mills the numbers are not adding up. With 18 applications for a funded spot in the preschool, there are only 10 spaces available.
Currently we've had to reject 8 children from our village. 5 of those 8 children actually attend here for preschool already. So that would mean asking them to move to another setting for their preschool year and then come back here to the primary school, which they will be going to in Clough-Mills. It just doesn't make sense.
There are extra spaces available, but they're not EA funded. For parents left without a place, there are some hard choices ahead.
Our 2 options now are either pay for them to come here non-funded, so that's we need to try and work out our circumstances at home and pay for them, or just don't send him anywhere and just keep him in his childminding setting, and then he misses out on his development for early years education and misses out on that step before primary 1 then.
With working couples reliant on childminders who are based in the village, an alternative place 9 miles away just does not work.
We have no other option of getting our child to Ballymoney when we both work and trying to provide everything for our daughter. It just doesn't work. Our childcare's in the village here and has been for a long time. If we want our child to have a nursery place, obviously one of us was going to have to stop working or something to allow them to go to Ballymoney or try and rope in grandparents or something.
Clough-Mills is not alone. 46 preschool leaders have written to the Minister and the EA to plead their cases. They say the system is too rigid.
The Education Authority say there are enough funded spaces for all children. The issue the parents here have is not the spaces, but the location of them. The EA say that if it allowed the ad hoc allocation of spaces, it could lead to vacant spaces in other schools, which they say could eventually lead to closure. They say the process needs stability to function.
That need for stability, many here say, is inflexibility, and it's impacting their children and their families' lives. Ita Dungan, BBC Newsline in Clockmills.
Now, what would you do if your best friend did something and you knew it was wrong? Would you turn a blind eye or call them out? These are just some of the questions being posed by a groundbreaking new play exploring a conversation about how boys and men speak to and treat women and girls. It's been shown for free to hundreds of school children and young people across County Tyrone in recent weeks. Our Mid-Ulster reporter Niall McCracken has been finding out more.
So I just went back to my table and I was just sitting there and I turned around and there was Ciara. Ciara was there, Ciara was there. Ciara was walking across the dance floor and she was looking for me. Ciara!
This is County Tyrone actor Ronan Johnson performing a scene from the one-man show entitled Called Out. It recently had a run at Crack Theatre in Cowisland.
Well, she asked me to go to formal.
It explores the issue of gender-based violence, being an active bystander and calling violent behaviour to account. The project is the brainchild of a creative husband and wife duo.
Myself and Cathal had a conversation about how we felt like he would be the perfect person to write that play, because it's about men's contribution to this issue in this place that we live.
It's very easy for you to say as a man that, oh, I wouldn't engage in violence towards a woman, but it's about looking at the things that we are complicit in, that we watch and don't say anything about.
More than 1,500 young people and school children have seen the production in recent weeks.
After, I was in a wee bit of a shock, to be honest, just reflecting on times where this kind of thing might have happened around me and you don't even realise. It's definitely stayed with me.
I know a lot of people would think, like, if that happened to their sister, they'd be absolutely mortified. But then, like, it doesn't matter if it's your mother, your sister, your friend, a stranger. It's not okay, and it's still an issue.
The play features audio extracts from real accounts of women who have survived abuse.
Like, wasn't allowed to wear makeup, wasn't allowed to dress nice, had to be in tracksuit bottoms.
There are 5 women that we felt so honoured and so lucky to interview. It was harrowing, but also incredibly moving and powerful, and just took the production to this whole other level.
The play's initial run at Clyne's Crack Theatre has finished, but those behind it are hopeful for a further rollout across Northern Ireland in the near future. Niall McCracken, BBC Newsline.
Sport now, and Rory McIlroy was the overnight leader at the Masters as he looks to defend the title. The second round is underway in Georgia. Let's get the latest from Stephen Watson in Augusta.
Rory McIlroy is just teeing off in his second round here at the Masters after making an impressive start to the defence of his title. He shot his best opening round here since 2011, suggesting perhaps that this unburdened Rory is no longer weighed down by the ghosts of Masters past. And what just might strike fear into the chasing pack is that he actually didn't even play his best at times. The statistics suggest Rory could have recorded a round of 5 over par instead of 5 under. But somehow he's managed to put himself in a great position to become the 4th player in history to win this event twice in a row.
He has, you know.
Having won last year, I think it makes it easier to handle difficult situations on the course here. So, you know, I didn't panic, I didn't overreact whenever I couldn't hit a fairway. I just kept swinging, and then, you know, thankfully started to swing it a little bit better.
McIlroy taps in.
Those trying to catch Rory know how hard it will be, including his good friend Shane Lowry, who finished 3 shots behind him.
Thrilled with the way that he's managed to fashion.
Yeah, he'll probably kick on now and win about 4 in a row or something, but no, yeah. Is it great to see him up there? He's a hard one to beat, I don't know.
The patrons arriving for day 2 do so in perfect weather conditions. Excited to see how McIlroy will fare at the top of the leaderboard, as is his putting coach.
For 37 years old, he's played professional golf more than half of his life now. He's in tremendous shape. I think, you know, he's got incentive and motivation. You know, nothing's financial about him. He doesn't have to worry about that. But I don't know if playing free without, you know, you have to have some nerve. I still think this charges him up more than any other week, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out and put another 500 today. This is the first Masters in 25 years that's going to be no rain, so I think this afternoon late, the players playing late, like Rory in the second to last group, it's going to be really difficult.
Tom McKibben unfortunately won't be here for the weekend play. He missed the cut on his Masters debut. Still a great experience for the 23-year-old.
And you can follow all the Masters action across the BBC Sport website. Now in rugby, it's a huge night for Ulster as they welcome La Rochelle to Belfast for a European Challenge Cup quarter-final. The French Giants are coached by former Irish international Ronan O'Gara and are expected to give Ulster their toughest test this season. Gavin Andrews reports.
French rugby sits at the top of Europe at both international and club level. But this quarter-final tie sees the heavy hitters on the home side. La Rochelle, though, under Ronan O'Gara, will be ready.
It's a different calibre of opposition with a different support base and a different intimidation, and that's part of the learning curve for every young player. So it'll be challenging at times on Friday night, but we have to, when we're on the ropes, we need to stay in the fight against Ulster, and that's key. They are obviously a hugely improved side, but they still haven't arrived at being able to consistently put away big teams. We are a big team.
Don't slow down. Well, Ulster looked like a new team this season, pushing for a playoff place in the league and on a European run. But tonight will be an acid test.
Every game that we have now is going to be so important to us in terms of URC, in terms of European, and we're in a quarter-final, so this is when it really counts. It's knockout rugby. We don't have a second chance at it, so I think this is where we'll kind of find out where we are as a squad.
They are a big French giant, and I feel like we do play well whenever big French teams come to town, you know. So I'm really excited about it, and I think there's an opportunity to put in a massive performance and hopefully, you know, create a bit of a statement for ourselves.
Win this one, and anything's possible. Gavin Andrews, BBC Newsline.
We have live commentary of the game on BBC Sounds. And Ireland's women kick off their Six Nations Championship tomorrow with a match against the World Cup champions England. Ireland are definitely underdogs, but now ranked 5th in the world and having reached the quarter-finals of the World Cup, they're determined to test their hosts.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're coming off the back of winning a home World Cup, which is extraordinary. The ticket sales are so good. Like we're going to hopefully beat the record and in Twickenham as well, which is pretty extraordinary. They'll want a big game, but we'll want a big game too. And the performance is really important for us to start off our Six Nations well. So yeah, hoping to just get a good performance in with the team.
We had a good World Cup, but we didn't get what we wanted at that quarter-final. We pushed France close. We've got to be another score better, so we take everything like on any day, anything that happens that we know we're good enough to win that game. So I think as we've been building squads, it seems like not a lifetime ago, but it's 6 months ago that we were last together, and I think the squad continues to look stronger than the competition before. Us as Ireland are tracking in the right direction.
75,000 people at that game at Twickenham, which is live on BBC One. Gaelic football's Ulster Championship also starts this weekend with a very exciting opening game. Great rivals Armagh and Tyrone meet at the Athletic Grounds. Here's Mark Sidebottom.
There could scarcely be a more appetising start to the Ulster Provincial Series. Last year's tango between these two saw Armagh prevail by a point, but no province does jeopardy quite like Ulster.
Yeah, it's always a big one against your rivals in Tyrone, and the Athletic Grounds is a brilliant place to be on Championship Day, so we're expecting it to be a tough one for sure.
Tyrone's league form has been patchy, leading to disgruntlement on the terraces. But the Red Hands are blessed with an abundance of talented football players, and they will relish this particular challenge.
Big start for a Premier Round game in the Athletic Ground, so we're under no illusions of how tough that's going to be. But look, we'll look forward. It's a good challenge. We'll be, I suppose, after the course of our league campaign, we'll be going in as underdogs for that game. But we're under no illusions. We need serious improvement to be really competitive when we go to the Athletic Grounds. But we're working on that, and we're trying to get better, pick up the experiences of the league and try and see if we can improve on that.
This is not just any old championship opener. This is the 2021 All-Ireland champions taking on the 2024 All-Ireland champions. We're spoiled in Ulster. Mark Sidebottom, BBC Newsline.
And the game is live on BBC Two. Now, with just 3 matches remaining, the race for local football's Irish League title is between 3 clubs. Leaders Larne are 3 points ahead of their nearest rivals Glentoran, with Coleraine a further 2 points adrift. And at this stage of the campaign, it's all about wins, not performances.
Yeah, you have to, and it's all about the 3 points now, especially when you're chasing the team that's ahead of you. It's all about 3 points. You've got to go hell for leather and try and get the 3 points. But as I say, by hook or by crook, again, not bother about what's going on elsewhere. We just got to try and take care of our own business against a very, very good Dungannon team.
Goalkeeper needs to come and he misses it, and here's Shevlin. Can he get a touch? Yes, he can. What a start that is for the...
Our players have been incredible, particularly over the last, I think, in 90 minutes we've lost 1 game in our last 16. We're a new group forming, new staff, new players, new ownership, and this is the very start of what we're going to try and achieve. And our players have been brilliant, and as I said, I don't think they get the credit they deserve.
Larne's game against Linfield tomorrow at Windsor Park is live on the iPlayer at 1 o'clock. And finally tonight in swimming, Belfast Lottie Cullen won the 100 metres stroke title at the Irish Open Championships in Bangor last night, and she was thrilled to have secured the consideration times for the European Championships and Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, just looking to move forward and push forward from these performances. I haven't had a ton of long course racing this year, but I've been able to just chip away at my times every meet and build towards the summer, and hopefully just keep chipping away at these times. Last year I had such a rough year, and I couldn't be more thankful to my team around me, family, friends, for helping get me back to this point. I'm just delighted to be able to make the teams.
Well done to Lottie. That's it from Augusta for now. We'll have the latest from the golf on our late bulletin and action from Ulster Rugby's European game.
Well, to weather now, and it's been a bit of a mixed bag today. Just look at those wild waves at the Barmouth in Castle Rock. Well, Cecilia, what more do we have in store?
Not very nice weather this evening, Lindsay, so anybody who's heading out, there is going to be some heavy rain. Rain's been piling in from the southwest today, and the winds are strong and gusty, so some very wet and very windy weather. Not very pleasant at tonight's Ulster match. So lots more rain to come over the next few hours. It will be heavy, it's cold, so it could well be some sleet or snow over the mountaintops, and some very gusty winds for a while, but things will turn drier after midnight. Some clear skies, 1 or 2 showers, and once again another chilly night. Temperatures could get close to freezing in a few spots. The winds reducing overnight, some showers lining up in the west tomorrow. So tomorrow is that classic mix of sunshine and April showers. And while it's chilly first thing, some of those showers could be a bit wintry, even at fairly low levels. But generally through the day, the worst of the showers will come later on. So there will be some dry and bright weather, particularly in the east, and temperatures in a few places will get into double digits. But by the end of the day, some heavy showers, some gusty winds, and a risk of hail and thunder. And that continues into tomorrow evening. So plenty of showers around tomorrow evening, still quite windy, still some heavy showers in the mix. Not as cold tomorrow night. We should stay frost-free, if that's any consequence at all. On Sunday, we're looking at quite a lot of showers in the morning, not so many in the afternoon. So a bit of the opposite to tomorrow, and temperatures climbing a little bit more, up to 12 degrees in places. The winds easing through the latter part of the day and on Sunday night. So we've got chilly air this weekend and to start with next week. It won't be as windy on Monday, but then milder air starts to move up from the southwest early next week, but still carrying some weather systems at times, so still some areas of rain. So we may see things turn more settled by next weekend, but in the short term, it's very unsettled, very changeable, although temperatures will start to creep up a bit next week. That's the best I can do.
Thanks. Well, that's it for now. Enjoy your weekend, even if the weather is rotten. Bye-bye.